Hey, honey,
Yes, Barry?
let's get out of here.
Where are we going?
Where do we always go?
Fascina el viento, este ritmo de palmas, sin mi naturaleza, hasta encontrar la playa. Por eso grito al mundo, yo soy de Puerto Vallarta. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta.
Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. I am your host, Barry Kessler, and I'm just so happy to be introducing you to my favorite vacation destination. Hey, maybe it's even yours, and that's Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. That music you're listening to is performed by Alberto Perez, and Alberto is the owner of the Lapa Lapa group of restaurants here in Puerto Vallarta. Those are the Lapa Lapa, the El Dorado restaurant, and at night for dinner, the El Dorado transforms into the ever-so-romantic Vista Grill, with those dramatic views of the Los Muertos Pier, all lit up at night in beautiful colors. And of course, at Lapa Lapa, you can enjoy that same view of the Los Muertos Pier all day long for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, seated with your toes in the sand right at the water's edge. It's so romantic. It's so Puerto Vallarta, my friends. This week is part one of my day trip to El Tuito and Mayto and Tehuamixtle, which is south of Puerto Vallarta. But first, we're going to get a little news about what's going on in Puerto Vallarta this week, the 14th of February. Hey, happy Valentine's Day, 2018. Last week there was an earthquake, woke up the town. There were no injuries. There was no damage. It just rattled some nerves. I have some details for you in the show notes if you want them, but not to worry. Nothing happened except for some people woke up. Others, too much tequila, no issues, no drama. Anyway, I have a new page on my website, and it talks about, I promised this to you guys earlier, and it talks about how to consume a podcast, especially the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. And you know where you guys can find it. You just go to www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. Top of the page, you will see it says how to listen. And now I know you guys are listening to the podcast right now, so you probably don't need to know how to listen, although some people still need to kind of understand how to take it with them. So even though you guys know how to do it, you might be able to share it with some of your friends. I have some Android app suggestions for you that you can download for your phone and make it easier for you to take the podcast anywhere you go. So anyway, take a look. It's right there. That's what makes podcasts so great, you know? You can just do two things at one time. You can listen and drive or jog or work out or mow the lawn or work in the yard, you know, or just do nothing. But if you need a lesson on listening to podcasts, take a look at it. Otherwise, just share it with somebody who might need to know something about podcasts. All right, so Coffee Fest is back. It is going to happen this time, February 17th, so this week on the Malecon. Now, the last event was rained out, as you guys remember, but if you're going to be in town this weekend, let me just read from the press release. It says here, we invite you and your family at Puerto Vallarta's Malecon next February 17th at 6 o'clock p.m. and break the world record of the greatest number of people tasting coffee at the same time. Everybody is welcome, and we're hoping to receive 500 participants to beat the record that Germany set in 2016 with 368. The event is free of charge, and we are willing to share with you the best coffee in Mexico. How about that? So join us in this incomparable event and be part of the world record. For more information And I actually have a link to their website there. So go to my website, go to the show notes for this episode, and check it out. You can go to their Facebook page at Coffee Fest Puerto Vallarta if you like, and maybe you can follow a link from there. But I have the links in my website if you want to check it out. So do that and get there. Get to the Malecon on Saturday night. I mean, who needs to sleep? Ask for an Americano, double, Stay up all night. No, come on. I'm being obnoxious, you guys. Don't do that. Okay. Hey, let's get on with the show, okay? I had never been to El Tuito, and I was really excited to be going. My plan was to take a bus down and then talk with a couple of really cool people in town and then have those people tell us about the place, right? And then I would wander around, and then I figured I would take a taxi that would take me to Mayto and to Tehuamixtle. I wasn't sure, actually, when I started this adventure here, if I was going to be able to do all that I wanted to do, because I had interviews to do, and I wanted to wander around, and I wanted to get a good taste of everything. So anyway, I thought I would just go ahead and make a run of it, which I did. Now, before we get started, what is El Tuito? What is this place anyway? Well, JR and I talked about it, if you'll remember. We talked about El Tuito in one of the first episodes of the show, the one that we talked about taking buses. And if you don't remember that conversation, you can go back and listen to it. But let me just read from JR's website here. He's got his DIY tours page where he talks about El Tuito. And he writes, El Tuito was founded in the 16th century, about the same time as the mining towns and Talpa de Allende. However, there are no mines in El Tuito. What does it have? Well, it has grazing land and water, and it was on a major Spanish road that ran from Barra de Navidad to El Cuale and Mascota, the Camino Real. The famous Manila ship that came once a year from the Philippines would unload some of its cargo at Barra de Navidad before continuing on to Acapulco. El Tuito could supply fresh pack animals, food, and water to the travelers on their way to the mines. The remains of an old hacienda can be seen on the right of the old road leading to town from Route 200. And he writes here that he has also heard that there are the ruins of an old sugar mill that existed there many years ago. And if anybody finds it, he wants to know, it says here. El Tuito is a good place to get your raicilla supplies. There is a store on the old road in town, but what it sells as raicilla, I have grave doubts about, he says. To get the good stuff, La Punta, just wander around the plaza, ask some of the stores. They will direct you to the houses that have it for sale, and ask for El Perico. He used to live across from the church. Okay, we'll find out. Okay, last price he paid was 150 pesos for a liter. Oh, okay. The church's altar is a huge rock, which the church was built around. There's a lot of construction these days with new roads from Route 200 into town and beyond to the rest of Cabo Corrientes municipality. They have also repaved all the roads around the square. There's not too much tourist shopping here. There's local stores like the hardware store, which sells saddles and horseshoes and whatnot. Some pretty decent restaurants close to the plaza for tourists who are starting to come with Vallarta adventures and with superior tours. Plus our old friend Machi's, with Machi's Barbecue on the southwest corner of the square. He has a restaurant there, but he doesn't open until around 2 p.m. Visitors should visit the Cultural Center in the City Hall building on the north side of the plaza. Lots of historical information, including photos and old maps. And he writes, don't miss the wonderful mural around the stairs to the second floor. This is also where roads to Mayto Beach and the fishing village of Tehuamixtle start. He writes, there used to be a daily bus service, but alas, the bus died. Maybe somewhere in the future. there is a strange festival on September 17th called La Mojiganga, which involves a young bull, people throwing flour at each other, and guys in drag dancing with other local men. Okay. Afterwards at night, there's a big firework display. Again, all of this was taken from JR's website over at vallartainfo.com, and I have links to the site on my site, all over my site, so there. And I also have a YouTube video of this Mojiganga celebration, actually in the show notes for this episode. So if you want to check this out, he's not kidding. There's actually proof. And you know that everything that you see on YouTube is real, right? Anyway, let's get to how you get to El Tuito. So I got to El Tuito by bus, and remember that there's many ways you can get there. You can have tour companies take you. You can pay a taxi, private transportation. In fact, I have an interview coming up with a friend, Camacho Castillo, who is a driver, but not this time. We're gonna be traveling with the people, with la gente. We're gonna be on the bus. So first things that you need to do is, no matter where you are in Puerto Vallarta or north of Puerto Vallarta or a little bit south of Puerto Vallarta, get yourselves to the corner of Aguacate and Carranza on the south side of Vallarta, in the Emiliano Zapata neighborhood. Now, on that corner, you're going to actually see the bus. It's the bus that goes to the Botanical Gardens and El Tuito. And it comes every half hour or so. It sits right on Aguacate, facing south, across from the Kiosco Market. And it waits there until it fills up, and then it heads off along the Carretera 200. It goes the same route that you take when you're going to Mismaloya or to Boca de Tomatlan, or, of course, to the Botanical Gardens. And if you can get your seat on the right side of the bus, that's where you want to be, so you can get that great view of the ocean and of the coastline along the way. And when you get on the bus, tell the driver that you're going to El Tuito, and the bus ride's going to cost you approximately 32 pesos, and it takes about an hour to get there. You're going to pass Mismaloya and Boca de Tomatlan, where the bus then turns and heads up east inland, and then it stops over at the Botanical Garden to let off a group of people, and then it will continue up into the mountains along the beautiful forested road, and then, of course, the bus does what all buses do in Mexico. It makes numerous stops. It'll just stop along the way and pick up people that are along the road. He'll pick up a local, give them a ride to town. Everybody knows everybody, it seems, up there. It's very, very campy. It's very cool. And anyway, the bus stops on the 200, right at the mouth of town, and then it drives in along the main strip, dropping off passengers as they want to get off, and then it stops over at the main square, where it drops everybody off and then loads up for the ride back to Puerto Vallarta, and of course in the points in between. Now this bus makes its last trip. I think it's at 6:30. So you got to make sure that you get back to the bus stop before the last one leaves. Now I'm going to talk to you later about that, because I actually missed that bus, and I had to go out on the highway, Highway 200, and pick up the bus that was coming from Manzanillo into Puerto Vallarta. Now, that's going to be another story. That's going to be in the second part of this 2-part episode of the trip to El Tuito. Now, I chose to actually have the bus drop me off not in the center of town, but in a place where I could actually walk through town and get a feel for it. And it was a sweet little town. It was quiet. It was so much quieter than Puerto Vallarta, I got to tell you. And I was walking down the main street. I later found out that the homes and the buildings actually that are on that street. The oldest ones in town are the ones on that main street. And there were small shops and little places where people were living. Some of them actually had signs saying rooms for rent. And I actually thought about poking my head in to see what kind of accommodations that they were offering. Yeah, I'm always nosy, but what they have and how much and what it's like. But I was running a little late. I was on Mexican time. But hey, it wasn't my fault. The bus was running late, right? Okay, whatever. So I had my first appointment at a place called La Joya de Tuito, which translates to the gem of Tuito. Now, I was told by JR that I should stop over here. When I told him I was going to El Tuito, he says, you got to go see Matty and Jesse. And they just opened up a real nice bed and breakfast. And so I figured, okay, so I contacted them, and they said, sure, we'll talk with you. So I walked all the way into town, over to the town square, and I stopped and asked this guy over at a taco stand if he knew where La Joya de Tuito was. And he says, no idea. And he asked his audience that were sitting all around him, munching on tacos and whatever they were eating, I guess tamales. And anyway, none of them knew what I was talking about. So I whipped out my cell phone and I pulled up their Facebook page. And one of them says, you're looking for Matty and Jesse. And I go, yeah. He says, okay. So he calls up a cab and he tells the cab where to go. And then off we go. And he's kind of going, so we had a nice talk. We talked a little bit about how many cabs there were in town, and we talked a little bit about what was the older part of town and the newer part of town. And he was not quite sure where we were going. I showed him my cell phone, and he goes, oh, okay. So he got back up onto Highway 200 and across the highway and then up a dirt road, which was really not a dirt road. It was kind of like a grassy road. It was kind of interesting. Anyway, all the way up to La Joya de Tuito, the bed and breakfast. And it's really beautiful, you guys. The grounds it's just gorgeous. Got a pool and flowers, and it's nicely landscaped. And the taxi driver seemed very impressed, too, with the home. Anyway, I found a nice quiet place to set up my microphones, and I had a nice talk about El Tuito and La Joya, the gem of El Tuito. And we talked about things to do around El Tuito. These two young entrepreneurs, the keepers of the inn, Jesse and Matty. So let's go right now to El Tuito, Cabo Corrientes, Mexico, and La Joya de Tuito. All right, I am right now in El Tuito, and I'm with two very special guys. I have Matty here, and I have Jesse here. They're going to tell you their last names and stuff and go over that with you. We are at a B&B, and it's called La Joya de Tuito. And thanks for coming on the program with me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming.
Matty, let's start with you. Tell us where you're from and what was your path to Puerto Vallarta?
Well, I'm from Denver, Colorado. It was emergency dispatch for 10 years there, and we came down here. I've only been to Puerto Vallarta 3 times, and on the 3rd time, we saw this opportunity, and after a few margaritas, it became a reality. And here I am today running a bed and breakfast in El Tuito.
Okay. All right. And how about you, Jesse?
Very similar path. I'm also from Denver, Colorado. I had vacationed in Puerto Vallarta approximately 8 times, and with each visit, a piece of my heart got left here, and I had to come back and collect it.
I like that. That's very descriptive. All right. So you're here in El Tuito, but you guys didn't really start businesses in El Tuito, did you? Or you just began your business in El Tuito?
You know, Vallarta is where we vacationed and fell in love with, and then it just kind of came about that through a friend of his, they found this property and we found the opportunity, and we said, you know what, it's a perfect place. So we went for it, and we really enjoyed it. That was thanks to his cousin, actually, who bought the property 5 years ago, I think. And since then, since the last 2 years, we've been doing this business venture here. So it's been really great.
All right. Well, I'm going to have pictures of La Joya de Tuito because it is gorgeous, and it looks like a great place to relax and unwind, get away from everything. You have right next door, you've got the cute little pueblo there. Tell everybody about La Joya de Tuito. Tell us about the grounds, the rooms.
Okay. It's a wonderful place. It's a 3-bedroom home and guest house. We have 3 different style and themed rooms. We have the Frida room, which is a queen-size room. It's decorated with Frida Kahlo's artwork. We have the La Catrina room, which is decorated with La Catrina and Los Muertos themes. And then we have the master suite upstairs, which is a jungle suite with jungle views and mountain views. All the rooms have their own private patio, large space, and each room has its own specific little view. It's very, very unique to each room. And we have a rooftop bar, which is wonderful for sunsets, stargazing, drinking. Wonderful, wonderful place for lots of views, 360-degree views of all the mountains. We're in a valley. El Tuito is known as the Valley of the Gods. So you see this wonderful view everywhere you go, and it's just an amazing little town. We have the full-size pool, and we have the fire pit surrounded by hammocks as well. Very, very comfortable, very, very relaxing. Everyone that comes here, they love Vallarta, but they want to get away for a little while. So it's a wonderful place to come and relax. It's a little bit more quiet, less people, but there's always something going on around in town, and it's just so far been a wonderful place.
Yeah, that pool looks nice and refreshing when you come driving in to this very, very beautiful property. Now it's a B&B, so you serve breakfast, and how's that done, Jesse?
We're doing a continental style breakfast. We'll go get pan dulce from the local panaderia, grab some fresh fruits from town. So basically a Mexican style continental breakfast. We'll offer up some oatmeals, little boxes of cereals. If you have special dietary needs, we'll definitely try to help out with that. But generally just your typical continental style breakfast.
Nice. Now, I was very impressed when I came in here with there actually is internet service up here.
Yes. Thank you, Sky.
I mean, how did that happen, you guys? I mean, there's parts in Puerto Vallarta that don't have as good of connectivity.
It was trial and error for the first year, but we found a company called Sky.
I'll give a big shout out to Sky. Thank you,
does
Sky.
Great for their internet. So
Excellent.
each room has smart TVs, and you're actually able to stream Netflix on all 3 TVs at one time. So.
And be on your tablets and your phones and all that. So when we first got here, it was a struggle. You couldn't even open a news story on Facebook. And we lived like that for
8 months.
8 months.
Uh-huh.
And just about the time that we were ready to dive into the pool and never come back up because we were so bored, we found Sky Internet, and it's been wonderful up here. So we have very good connectivity here. If anybody needs to come for business or pleasure, we will keep you connected to the outside world.
Well, you know that how important that is to people who are travelers. You know, it's so important. All right, let me ask you a couple questions about El Tuito, because people are going to be here. They're going to be on the property. They're going to be having a lot of fun, but they're going to want to kind of venture into the pueblo. So tell me, if I were coming up to you and, hey, what do I do? Where do I go from here? How can I have a good time? What would you tell me to do?
Within El Tuito, the pueblo itself, there's a nice little art gallery here from a lady named Maria. She's put together a great combination of local artists from here. So if you're into wanting like the local art scene and seeing some great pieces, there's that. 10 minutes outside of town is Agua Calientes. It's a little waterfall that you can go and sit and enjoy. There's a restaurant there, too, where you can grab some beers, a little bit of food, play in their pool.
El Tuito, it's funny because I always tell our guests it's full of stores that have everything you never knew you didn't need. And every little store in town, and there's probably 50 of them, has unique things. It sometimes looks like everybody has the same stuff, but every little store you find something new every time you go.
Niche.
If you're looking for entertainment, if it's the evening time, or actually afternoons now, afternoons and evenings, Machi's Barbecue is the place to be. He had 3 restaurants and a coffee shop in Vallarta years ago, and now he has the staple restaurant here, and it is amazing for food, drinks, great music, and now sushi.
Really?
Sushi, yeah.
Machi's has sushi now.
Yes, it's wonderful too. It's probably some of the best sushi I've ever had. There's probably 12 different restaurants in town. 3 of the 12 are taco stands, of course. But it's Mexico, so what do you do? What do you do?
Well, it's all right. That's what I had for breakfast today. What can I tell you?
There's also Rancho Primavera, which is a very nice bird sanctuary just outside of town. And Bonnie over there does a great job with helping protect the birds and things like that. So there's a lot of interesting nature things to do in town too.
If I had to sum it up, I usually tell guests that are interested, I say, come from Vallarta, stop at the Botanic Gardens, go view that, have lunch and a really good Cadillac margarita. Mm-hmm. And then come to Tuito, check in, relax for a little bit, take a swim, go have some dinner at Machi's and some drinks, and then the next day just wander around. I mean, the best thing about Tuito is it's a very walkable town. It's a bigger town, but it's very, very walkable. So you can walk from our property to the center of the town in about, I'd say 12 to 15 minutes maybe. And then if you wanted to walk the whole town, you could do it in a couple hours. So you can see everything in a few hours and just find what you like from there. It's a great place to come.
One of the best parts I like about our little town is it's extremely handicap accessible. Every sidewalk has an indentation for walkers, chairs, things like that. So it's a good place for anybody of any ability to come and get around the town.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Really
That's
nice.
pretty cool. I noticed also that there's a lot of new building going on in town as well. Are you seeing any kind of influx of people who are maybe feeling a little crowded and pushed out in Puerto Vallarta?
Yes and no. The funny thing is Tuito is a pivot point. So when you leave Vallarta and come to Tuito, you can go to all the beaches around here of Cabo Corrientes, so Mayto, Tewa. If you go further south, you can hit Punta Perula. If you go more north, you got Boca and all those in between. So it's a popular place for people to come instead of driving an hour from Vallarta and then an hour to the next place. People are finding that it's easier to just come stay here and just every day hit a new beach, a new adventure. And there are more and more buildings going up, and there's a couple new developments that they're starting to create. It's becoming a really good vibe, but the locals are embracing it very well. They've taken to us very kindly. I've never moved to a town before that was so welcoming. And the people here have been gracious and kind, and I couldn't ask for anything better.
Well, it's pretty funny. I was lost, when I was coming in here. I took the bus. I went all the way into the center there, into the plaza, and I looked around, and there's this taco seller guy. I walked up to him and asked him, there you go. Well, I asked him, where your place was, and he didn't recognize the name. But then he thought for a minute, and he says, You mean Matty and Jesse? So yeah, they know you and they love you down there, man. So he goes, hey, no worries. Come on. He pulls out his phone. He calls a cab for me. It was great. So
that's what's great about this town. The people are open arms and smiles constantly.
Yeah,
they all know what we do and kind of where we're at, but they all just know us as Matty and Jesse because we never really talk about business too much with them in the town.
Obviously, we have no freaking clue.
I know. Yeah, we just talk about daily things and fun times. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah. All right. Well, good for you guys. I mean, that means that you know how to do it. So to get to Mayto from here, how does one do that?
Well, they used to have a bus service, and I'm told that the bus service is coming back, but I'm not sure. So don't quote me on that one. But it's just it's a one-way road, like at the end of the plaza, the southwest corner of the plaza. You just follow that road and you keep going, and then you'll see a sign that says Mayto. Mayto is a beautiful, beautiful beach for taking pictures. I call it a photo opportunity beach. The waves there are a little more rough, and they have some rocky surfaces, but that makes for a really, really beautiful photo. They have a couple hotels there, and
it's known for their turtle conservation.
Turtle
health.
Conservation and health. If you're looking for more amenities and stuff, you can go around the corner to Tehuamixtle, and Tehuamixtle is just on the other side of the bay, and they have more restaurants and things like that. So you have Candy's restaurant and then like 4 or 5 other restaurants there. It's about, well, I'll say that it's 40 minutes, 45 minutes. If you've done it before, you can get there in about 25. The road is a lot better than it used to be. When we first moved here, it was not even finished.
Yeah, that's what I heard. JR told me that it was there was a section that was not completed until just recently.
Yes.
So, so does that mean if you don't have a car that you would either have to take a cab or maybe call an Uber? Maybe do they have Uber down here?
Uber. I have not seen Uber out here.
You haven't seen them yet?
Not here.
No. The touchy subject.
There's no Uber. Hey,
the touchy subject of Vallarta.
I know, but there's 12 cabs here in this town here. Okay,
we do have 12 cabs.
So if one leaves, everybody's ticked off. I imagine, right?
We don't have the Uber. We do have the cabs that will take you there. Be sure to get your cabbie's phone number because when you're ready to leave, you need to be able to call them to come back and get you, and they will with happiness.
Most of the cabs too are willing to, when they drop you off, if you want to come home at 5 o'clock, they'll come back and they'll pick you up by 5 o'clock and bring you home. So it's about touching base with those guys and seeing what you can set up with them. Also
here at Joya de Tuito, we do offer a tour package, and that package would take you to 3 different beaches. We'd stop at Mayto, do the photo op, go over to Tehuamixtle, have some lunch. Lunch is included in the tour option. And then we take you over to a little place, Via del Mar, or is that what
Via del Mar?
Via del Mar. And it's nothing but untouched beach, untouched sand, beautiful, beautiful ocean as far as you can see, and that's where you get the best sunset photos in the world. And we do offer that, but it is with, you have to give us a heads up. Don't pop in one day and think that we can just drop everything and go do the tour. It's an arranged thing. As long as we know that it's coming, then we can make sure that we can get you there.
Okay, cool. Have you any idea how much a cab will charge you to go down to Mayto and take you back?
A cab to Mayto and back is, I think, 250 pesos, I think. But I haven't done it myself, but that's the only reference that I've heard from it. Okay. The local cab guys are really affordable and reasonable. So, and if you find the right cabbie, they might just hang out with you all day or do their own thing and wait for you to be ready.
Cool.
And
That's
come
nice.
on back.
How nice is that?
Yeah.
Well, find the right cabbie. Shake some guy down. Here. What would you say to you guys both started off in Vallarta, so let me ask you what I ask everybody, and that is, what would you say to a first-time visitor to Vallarta? What kind of advice would you give them?
wear good walking shoes.
No kidding.
Vallarta, leave your baggage at home, is what I would say. There's a lot of expats. There's a lot of people that enjoy Vallarta. It's a wonderful place to enjoy. Don't let your daily head and your hustle and bustle get in your way of enjoying a wonderful place, because it's a beautiful town and everyone's kind and everyone really enjoys it. And sometimes you see people that they just worry too much about their schedule. This is Mexico. We're on Mexican time. Nothing is what you're used to. It's not the daily schedule. Relax, enjoy, and the city gives back just as much as you put in, so enjoy it. That's what I would say.
My advice is go easy, my friends. That's just go easy.
Life is one time. Enjoy
Relax
it.
and enjoy it.
Excellent. All right. That's what I like to hear. How do people find you guys? And you're on the web, on Facebook. Where are you at?
We currently have the Facebook page. If you search La Joya de Tuito, bed and breakfast, you'll find us. We also have a website, which is I think that's the best way to really look at us, and that's La Joya de Tuito bedandbreakfast.com. That's all spelled out. It's the longest web address in the world, yes.
It's very long. Very long. Don't misspell anything either. I'll take you off to some other site. You never know if you'll ever come back. Did I miss anything? Is there anything that you wanted to say, or that maybe anything that I left out at all?
My thing is, I think that people who come to El Tuito and Cabo Corrientes, they're what I call 1% of tourists who are more adventurous than going to an actual destination, like an all-inclusive type thing. So if you're adventurous and you like to be outside of your typical vacation, this is a great place to go, because you're not going to be hounded by tourists and things like that. Locals will be much more helpful here and get you out to different places that most of us don't get to see when you travel. So,
if you ever get the opportunity to come to El Tuito, it's really, really worth seeing. A lot of people think, oh, it's a small town, there's nothing to do, but there's so much to do. You just have to get up here and experience it before you really understand it.
Well, I want to thank you guys very much for allowing me to introduce you guys to my audience. I'm going to go and explore El Tuito now. So
excellent.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys.
It's been wonderful.
Take care.
Okay. Those guys are great. So from there, Matty called me a cab to take to my next interview. The destination was Galeria Coppelia, and for an interview with the proprietor, Maria Santander. And I had been in contact with Maria, knowing full well that she knew a lot about El Tuito, for one thing. And I also knew that she had a really cool gallery where she displayed the work of local artists. And I also found out that the building itself had some historical significance as well. So the taxi driver knew Maria, and I guess everybody knows Maria. She should be the director of tourism down there in El Tuito as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, I needed to chat up the driver because I wanted to get to Mayto after the interview with Maria. So we got to talking, and this guy, Javier, said that he'd drive me to Mayto. And he told me that he'd take me back too. I said, I just need to get down there. If you can introduce me to somebody that would be interesting to talk to, that would be great. I just show me some places that I could take some great pictures and give me a little bit of history. And so he says, yeah, I could do that. So he starts talking to me and he starts telling me about Mayto. And I said, whoa, wait a minute, dude, wait, save that for later. So he drops me off. Can you pick me up in an hour? He says, yeah, no problem. So he drops me off at Galeria Coppelia. and tells me that he's going to be back soon. And then in I walk into the gallery. Then Maria comes and tells me that I'm early. I look at my cell phone. I said, "No, I'm late. I'm really sorry." She says, "No, you're early. You're supposed to be here on Monday. It's Friday today." Oh, whoops. I looked at my calendar. Yeah, she was right. I have never, you guys, been that early to any interview. I'm going to tell you that right now. But she was cool, and she was gracious about it. So I set up my recording equipment, and she gave me a tour of the place, and then we sat down, and I had a wonderful conversation with a very, very talented, genuine, caring, interesting woman. So let's go right now to Galeria Coppelia in El Tuito, Mexico, and let's talk with Maria Santander and hear her story. Hi, Maria. Thanks for inviting me to come and talk with you today.
Hi, Barry. Thank you for coming.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from, and how did you come to live in El Tuito?
Good question. I am from Mexico City originally. My mother's British. My father was a well-known Mexican playwright, Felipe Santander. And when they separated, I moved to Wales and then to California and eventually moved to Puerto Vallarta and was there for a year and ended up in this really tiny little town up in the Sierra Madres.
So you originally were, you told me that you were working over at the Botanical Gardens.
I started out working at the Botanical Gardens and found that there were so many wonderful artists and artisans here in town that didn't really have a place to display or sell their work. So when I left the Botanical Gardens, my idea was to open an art gallery here in town. There was something sorely lacking as far as culture, and I wanted to do something here. So I opened this with the support of the Botanical Gardens and Robert, and it's been a labor of love. It's all nonprofit. All of the money goes back to each artist for their work, and we represent about 20 different local artists and artisans who work in many different mediums, clays, paintings. I basically paint the furniture and the frames and the things that pay the bills, little things that people can take on the airplane with them. And the gallery has managed to keep itself going for the last 6 years, which is amazing. It's paid for itself. And we don't have any money for advertising or publicity, so we really, really do depend on people like you to help us and to promote us, and for word of mouth mostly. We just get groups of people who come regularly and come back and bring people and speak well of us, so that's a wonderful thing.
It is. You know, when you go to TripAdvisor and you look up El Tuito and you look for, places to, shop, and you are number one that comes up, but there's like 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
There's not that many.
I know.
And so maybe, it's probably because you've got a wonderful, wonderful place here. You gave me this tour, and maybe you would give my audience a little idea of what your place is like. I also saw that you have a kind of a little bed and breakfast thing, or a little rental there?
I do. It's a house that I built in 2 months from the ground up on a shoestring. Since I had turned my guest house into a gallery,
yeah,
I needed some place for family and friends to come and stay. And there is a beautiful little cabin here that we rent out. There's amazing grounds. There is Wi-Fi. We're not completely out in the boonies. We do have some things here that, there's long-distance phone and internet and cars. So for a long time, actually, you couldn't get to El Tuito except by airplane or donkey. So once they opened up the road, it was on.
It was all on.
Yeah.
Tell me about this place, your studio that I'm not your studio, but
The
your gallery that I'm
Mhm.
sitting in?
This is a 130-year-old adobe house. The walls are about a foot thick at least.
Oh, yeah.
And
Nicely insulated.
yeah, keeps it really cold.
Cool. Yeah.
All the houses are built with fireplaces, and we do use them in the winter because it gets very cold up here. We're 2,400 feet above sea level in the Sierra Madres, and it does get cold, although even in the summer, no matter how hot or humid it gets, we can keep the same temperatures as Vallarta and El Tuito, but we always have a reprieve at night. The nights are always cooler, so that's the reason I chose to live here. Besides, no air traffic, nothing, but you can probably hear the roosters in the back and an occasional cow. But it's lovely here. This house used to belong to Manuel Lepe up until 1982, I believe. And he was a very famous Puerto Vallarta artist, painter. He was the first Mexican artist to be accepted into the French School of Naive Art, which is a very childlike style of art. And that kind of made him famous for the region because he was from here. And in the offices of the presidency in Puerto Vallarta, you can walk in and see many of his works just right there. Unfortunately, this house used to have a huge mural on the side of the wall here, and it got painted over and painted over and painted over, and I didn't find out about it until, I was here and someone walked in and said, I used to work in this house, and there was a big painting here. And then I did the research and I found out he had done this huge mural here, which would have been a wonderful thing to have.
Sure.
But it's adobe. There's no restoring it or digging for it. It comes out in clumps from the wall. So it's just gone forever, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
But we have contemporary artists and painters, and I have about 5 people who work the clay, who do these beautiful pieces back here. And those are all from clay that is dug up here in town, too.
Wow.
So it's all very, very local.
Oh, what do we got? We're selling gas, or which one is
No.
that? Someone running for office out there, or we have an elections going on pretty soon, or?
They're probably promoting the Fiestas de Enero,
Oh, okay.
which is the same as Puerto Vallarta has the Fiestas de la Virgen de Guadalupe, which are in December. For some reason, they decided to celebrate those in El Tuito in January so
That's
that people
interesting.
wouldn't have to pick where to go. They could go to the ones in Vallarta in December and the ones in January here.
Oh, wait a minute. So you don't have to feel torn. You can go to both.
Yes.
All right. All right. You guys hear that? Okay, cool.
But you have to be very, very brave
Oh,
to be
tell
up here.
Tell me. What happens?
The church bells and the rockets start at 5 a.m.
Okay.
and you wake up going, just gasping, thinking, how is nobody ever died from this noise, which is so loud and starts at 5 a.m.
Okay. And which date?
from January 2nd to the 12th.
Oh, okay.
Every year.
All right, it's going on now.
It's going on now. We've had 2 mornings of waking up
Yahoo.
going, what the heck was that? And then you start dozing off again once it finally stops, and at 5:30 it goes again, and then at 6 o'clock again. Now, the point of this is that when you hear it the first time, you're supposed to leap out of bed, jump into your clothes, and run to 6 o'clock mass. So they're giving you all of the...
They're doing reveille for you.
Yeah,
they're getting
they're
you out
like,
of bed.
get down here now.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's the beginning. Then they have the fiestas, which go from the time that the sun goes down after they have the 6 o'clock mass and go through the whole process again in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. Then the fiestas start, and El Tuito's wonderful for that. We get thousands and thousands of people swarming to this
Wow.
town for the fiestas. There is not one room available, but you need to know that at 5 o'clock this is going to start. And when the rockets start, you can also hear music from the fiesta still going. And they do, unfortunately, do the gallos.
Okay, tell us about the gallos.
I have never been and do not support it in any way, shape, or form. But it's the cockfighting.
Cockfighting.
Yeah. And it goes on all night. And people either take their roosters or take their money and bet on the roosters. And it's like dog fights or horse racing or anything, you know. It's
very traditional, very regional.
Extremely.
They haven't gone in and said, hey, this is illegal, don't do this and don't do this here.
It's completely legal for the time of the fiestas.
Yeah.
But it goes on until, you know, long after people are back in mass at 6 o'clock in the morning. You can still hear the music from the gallos.
Wow.
So,
interesting. That is very interesting, you guys. All right, so I'll bet you most of you didn't know anything about that. What's the population here in El Tuito? Do you have any idea?
about 4,500 at the high season. We have a lot of people who own here and live half the year here and half the year either in Canada or the United States. But generally, I'd say about 4,500.
All right, yeah.
4,000 maybe.
Uh-huh.
It's extended over a large period, a large space. So there's people. It doesn't look like a really big town, but there's people just on the outskirts and on the other side of the highway, and they've just put up a new bed and breakfast out on the other side of the highway, and the big hotel is up there, and so it's more spread out. It just doesn't look so
It's
big.
starting to, but sounds like, and it looks like. Well, I was talking to the taxi driver on the way here, and we were talking about, what I wanted to know what the oldest part of town was, and he told me what that was, and he told me that most of it's fairly new.
Yes.
And the streets are fairly new, and the sidewalks have handicap cutouts,
And just been revamped, and yeah.
So that's pretty neat. Have you seen any kind of movement by people who wanted to just get out of Vallarta and come here and live in a quieter place? You see that coming here, or do you see that?
I see that more and more every day. It's becoming kind of a nice getaway for people. A lot of people have places here, and they have places in Vallarta as well. More and more that's happening. And my mother was here for 6 months last year, and I spent 6 months before that trying to find a place for her to rent. And really, there are no rental places here.
Because I was
not
walking
for long
down the
term.
street, and there's some, well, just not long term then, just little, rooms.
A
to
room
rent.
for rent.
Right.
Oh, but you don't want to stay there.
Okay, all right. Okay, tell me about a room for rent.
I
Just
have
to
never
see.
been in there, but I've heard they're,
Basic.
very, very basic, mostly by the hour.
Oh, that kind of rental.
Yes.
Okay, never mind. All
Yes.
right, no wonder you didn't want to tell me. All right, I get
Yes.
it. Okay, that's very interesting. I was walking down the street and I said,
Rooms for rent.
Rooms for rent. I'm going, really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Maybe I'll rent a room here. But okay,
No, it's kind of the difference between bars and cantinas that you need to know the difference before you go into the
I
establishment.
love it. Okay, good. I'm so happy to hear that. Speaking of that, tell me about local industries. What's going on here? What's going on here in El Tuito? Is there, other than artists, and are there other things happening here?
Well, it's mostly an agricultural town. That's where, because it hasn't really been set up in any way to be for tourists. If you walk around, you don't see a whole lot of stores or trinket places or anything where people can just come here and shop. There's a lot of restaurants, but those are really more for the locals. And so because we don't have that influx of tourism, it's only just barely starting to get there. It's mostly ranching here. There's cattle and crops. There's a lot of corn and that's probably the main industry here.
Okay.
It's growing, it's developing, but in the 6 years that I've been doing this gallery, excuse me, I've been trying to get, even if it's just 5 more businesses to open. Somebody was going to do a chocolate factory here. Somebody was going to do a cafe. Somebody was going to open a place for pottery where they could actually walk in and see him working there. These were all plans in development that just never took off. Mm-hmm. So I'm really the only basic, solid one here who's actually got something to provide for people coming from outside.
You're like the director of tourism here.
I would like to be. I could probably do a pretty good job with it.
But you probably could.
But I don't. That's all very political, and I try not to get involved in that any more than just working with the Department of Culture, who I hope once we're done here I can take you over to the Department of Culture and show you one of the pieces that we worked on over the summer. My mother, who's a painter, was here, and Miguel Pantoja, who is one of my painters who has been with me from the very start when we opened this gallery, is the teacher at the Cultural Center, and he teaches maybe 20 children from ages about 6 to 12 every day. Art, and that is paid for through the government and no charge to the children. And we all got together and did this huge mural that's beautiful. Oh, wow. The children named it. They painted it on their own. We just provided the time, running after them, trying to keep them on task, and all of the paints and the materials and the month that it took us to do it. And the town was very nice. The government was great, and they did this big celebration and show of presenting it, and all the kids were there. It was lovely. They've been very, very good. This government seems to, this latest municipal president, which I guess would be called the mayor in most places. He's the county. He's the municipality, which is like the county. Which ranges, it's actually huge because
it's Cabo Corrientes.
It's right? Cabo Corrientes, which is very, very big. And it goes all the way from Yelapa down to Boca de Tomatlan, to just about Tomatlan. And we just have the police department here that covers all of that, and the president that covers all of that, and all of the little teeny tiny towns. And so this president has actually been very good, and he's pushed tourism, he's pushed culture, so that has been a very good thing for the town also. Excellent. Yeah.
You mentioned that your artist that you were that's over at the Cultural Center.
Miguel.
Miguel. What other artists do you feature here?
Well, we have a lot. We have a woman who does clay, and she does.
Oh, I heard about
the beautiful
her.
Statues back there. Yes. Her father was very famous for his work. His name was Don Luis Solorio. People would come from all around to get pieces done by him, and he has taught many people. His daughter he taught, which is a wonderful thing because he's now retired and in poor health, and she's supporting him and her 6 children off of her work. And so she's somebody that I'm very, very happy to have her work here and to try to promote and to try to help. And I have a couple of pieces of his work and several other people who do clay. We have some of my things, which I will go through and show you. We do these. These are pretty much these bottle holders that just work on counterbalance. These are kind of what help us pay the bills.
Good bread and butter staple, easy to sell. Everybody's got a bottle of wine, and they're gorgeous.
Thank you.
And so, yeah, they are very pretty.
And we have glass holders for a bottle. We also sell the raicilla, and the raicilla is something that's very famous here in the region. It started out being a moonshine tequila made with green agave instead of blue agave, and you can still buy it. You just go in with an empty bottle, and they'll fill it up from a big 5-gallon jug.
Galifant.
but you're taking your chances because it can taste anywhere from pure rubbing alcohol to gasoline.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They say it keeps you very healthy and can make you speak other languages. But what we have is from a co-op here in El Tuito that was producing it. Unfortunately, they went under, so I bought everything they had and said that's it because they went under. And so I'm the only person who has this raicilla. So this is one of the things that also keeps us going.
That's wonderful. Now, these, you were saying also, you were talking about these galafons. People come and they bring their own bottles and they're filling them up.
Yes.
Which is probably why these guys went under, because nobody wanted to pay for the one that had the tax on it. They wanted to pay for the other one. I know how this goes.
Yeah.
All right. So you were saying that you can go anywhere from alcohol to ethyl alcohol to and make you fly. Huh? All right.
Yes.
I like it. And speak different languages.
And
too.
speak different languages. And see things nobody else sees. And you see, unfortunately, this is, as it is anywhere else, but after the fiestas, you can walk down the street and see who is still...
who was affected by the raicilla.
Or who's still drinking the raicilla at 9 a.m. when you're trying to go grocery shopping.
Oh,
yeah.
how exciting. How exciting. Well,
We have our regulars.
So that's a local industry.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I like it. All right. When you come to when you come here to El Tuito,
Yeah.
I'm so used to saying Puerto Vallarta.
Yes.
When you come to El Tuito, what would be a place other than yours that you wouldn't want to miss?
We have a wonderful bird sanctuary that is just a couple of kilometers down the street. Wonderful woman called Boni Jauregui who runs that. And she has guacamaya, she has turkeys, you could see every kind of bird there. It's a birders retreat and a bird sanctuary.
Oh, cool.
And it is absolutely beautiful. And she has rental cabins on the lake, and it's just lovely.
What a surprise. Wow, I never knew about that place.
Yes. And there was a donkey in Old Town Vallarta called Conejo, who everybody used to use to take their pictures with.
And Andalays.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And she has adopted that. And she has about 20 horses also, and the donkey, and turkeys, some chickens that I adopted but couldn't keep because of the cats, and she had babies, and so she took them, which was wonderful. She has macaws that are rescued. She heals them and cures them and fixes them without them getting attached so that they can fly away, which is a very important thing because so many people think that those are pets and they're not.
Right.
She has tons of animals and just a beautiful property, and she does rentals there, so that's always a good place. Besides being outside of town, so you can bypass the noise during the fiestas, that's a very, very good place to be as well. And she has 1 million mango trees and horses, and it's just gorgeous out there. So that's a recommendation. And there is, people say that the quesos, we have panela and queso fresco that are from the region. They are the best here. You have to know where to go get the good ones, though.
Really?
And
this is like bathtub cheese, right? No kidding.
this is no, that's bathtub tequila. You're thinking there were no baths involved in the making of this cheese.
Excellent. All right.
And there's bread. There's some very famous bread from the region that is baked in wood stoves, and that's also very good. There's a place past Rancho Primavera that is called Agua Caliente, and they have the most beautiful waterfalls and a restaurant and hot water spring-filled swimming pool. So there's a lot of little things. The key is to either have a car or know somebody who has a car who can take you out to these places, because on the other side of town is the fact that we have these virgin beaches, same distance from El Tuito to Tehuamixtle, or Mayto or Villa del Mar as it is to to Vallarta. See, I'm used to saying El Tuito too.
Yeah.
To Puerto Vallarta, but the difference is that one, you can be there for hours and not see a human being. Nobody's trying to sell you, rent you, timeshare you, anything. And it is breathtaking and absolutely magnificent. That is my go-to little spot in heaven here on earth. And there is, Tehuamixtle is a little cove where they have, it's a fishing village, and it's where they have just fresh seafood. You can swim because it's a cove and it's safe, and it's magnificent. You can just spend all day there and just come home renewed, just a completely different person. Mayto, you can't swim because it's open sea and it does have a really serious undertow. But it's miles and miles of pristine beach and nobody but you. And Villa del Mar is developing slowly, and it will be an absolutely lovely place eventually, but hopefully not too soon.
Right.
Because what keeps it so pristine is the fact that we've had a really bad road out there. And even though it's only 40 kilometers, it's washboard part of the way.
Wow.
So if you try to go over 10 miles an hour, you're off the road.
Oh, boy.
And off the cliff. And
Oh, boy.
so, yeah. So now it's almost done, but don't tell anybody.
I won't tell anybody. Right. I'll just, it'll be just between you and me.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
And the thing is, to get to those beaches, you have to go through El Tuito. So that's one of the things that makes us... See, as you leave Puerto Vallarta, there's the Botanical Gardens, which is a stop for so many thousands of people. And then to get to the beaches. So everything is... El Tuito's kind of in the center of everything, and I think that's why it's developing so well, and that's why it will continue to develop, too.
Yeah, it's a hub.
Yeah.
And people can use it to just take off wherever they want, which
Yes.
is pretty cool.
Yes.
Is there any nightlife in El Tuito?
Yes, there is. There's a very funky, cool bar called Machi's right on the plaza, and you can listen to old 80s rock and roll, drink Pacificos, eat sushi, and look at the folkloric dancers.
Oh,
You
really?
couldn't get a better mix.
Oh, wow.
And he does food. It's a really, really funky, eclectic, cool bar. Always good music, tables outside. You can people watch all evening. We have the dancers who have classes and then rehearse in the evening. Sunday nights are usually the best because they do a show. There's restaurants open. There's that tree in the plaza that is beautiful at night, all lit up. And the most wonderful tacos, Felipe's Tacos, which only opens after 7:30. So you have to be here at night for that, which is why I always offer the bed and breakfast for people who want to come and stay and maybe do the nightlife in El Tuito one night and then go out to the beaches the next morning, which is just the best weekend you can hope for, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It sounds wonderful.
Yeah. Well, you have to take me up on it.
I definitely will do that one of these days. I'm going to definitely do that.
Good.
Are there any local legends that you can tell us about?
There are, but I probably couldn't tell you about them.
Okay, good. All right, don't. I don't
There's
want to
just
get you in
things.
trouble.
No, and there's just things that you just probably don't need to go to.
The things that are legendary are not worth talking about right now.
Well, there was a tiger.
Talk to me. Come on.
There was a
Maria,
tiger.
don't hold back.
Well, right up until 3 days ago, there was a house 2 blocks down that had an 1,000-pound tiger, something amazing,
Really?
sitting on the front porch.
Not a pet.
A pet.
A pet?
A pet.
Dude.
And apparently, since the marina has taken over our stadium.
Oh, I saw. The Marines are there.
Yes.
They've moved in.
Yes, there's
Yeah.
2 helicopters and about 20 Humvees there.
Yeah, wow.
And they have set up camp in
In your big stadium.
our big stadium, our
Yeah.
sports stadium. No sports.
You know what? I came driving up here and I'm going, whoa, look at this place. What do they do here?
They just camped out. There were a bunch of really nice young guys, and they're just doing their job.
Mhm.
Nobody understands quite what the job is, or the rhyme, or the reason behind it. But
But the lion.
the lion, I guess, since they've had such a strong presence, the owner of the lion has not been around to feed the lion. So the marina took it away a few days ago. And apparently the lion was perfectly tame, but I guess the worry came from no food.
No food.
They get hungry.
Oh,
They may
yeah.
get a little less tame. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Other than that, it's like most small Mexican towns. Except we have absolutely no crime.
Really?
Which is
Really? Oh, that's wonderful.
Which is really, really amazing for 4,500 people and literally no crime. Imagine we have 20 police here, and they police a huge radius. I think it's something like 200 miles
Mhm.
in all
is
directions or
huge.
something. And there's nobody in our jail. They sit there and make sure that nobody robs you at the ATM. You know, it's so calm here. You can really, literally see children walking down the street, 5-year-olds in their little uniforms, completely safe to walk to school, completely safe to... I mean, it's amazing. I've not seen that anywhere else, or that level of... First of all, you'd think, well, yeah, it's a small town, but it's still 4,500 people.
Yeah.
And they know... Everybody knows each other's children. Everybody knows each other's pets. And it's safe. It's really safe, you know?
Mhm.
You can go out at night and it's safe. We've had no crime. Literally
That's
no
wonderful.
crime.
That's
It's a
incredible.
wonderful thing.
Yeah, wow. Let's say that somebody wanted to actually move to El Tuito. Have you any idea what it would cost to buy like a place here? Have you ever looked into like a 2-bed, 1 bathroom kind of a place, or is there anything like that happening here?
There's not a whole lot for sale as far as structures that are already built and really in good shape that you would want to buy.
Mhm.
There are lots. And what you always want to make sure when you're buying, because this is ejido land,
Yeah.
and what you always want to make sure is that they have escrituras, which are titles, deeds. I have a friend who sells lots. He sold most of them now. He bought basically a side of a mountain. And he sold them, and those were all deeded, and those sold well, and they were well priced. There's another place heading out towards Primavera where they have Tierra Alta, and there they're selling lots. And the thing with that is you have to buy the lot and build the cabin according to restrictions within, it's like a homeowner society or something.
Right,
or
right. They
homeowners.
don't want to have this mansionized, probably community. They want to have.
They
things
like log cabins.
Ah, interesting. Oh, wow, termites. Nice.
Well, they're beautiful cabins, and I'm sure there's a way to get around the termites.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure that there is too.
But that's a beautiful place, and we've got a lot of people buying lots out there. What I would personally recommend is buying a lot and building it yourself, really. I was very, very fortunate when I bought this place, but it was completely run down. It has taken me the best part of 11 years
you've
to
done a wonderful
actually
job there, Maria.
get it. Thank you. But I mean, it's a labor of love, and it's a constant work, and
Sure.
it's
Well, you're out in the
nonstop.
jungle. You know, you got some upkeep and stuff.
Yes.
You're in the jungle, in the mountains. You're in the everything up here.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
How do people find your place, and how do people get a hold of you?
I have a Facebook page called Galeria Coppelia, and that has all of the information. I'm open every day from 11 to 4, all year round. I live on the premises, of course, so I always tell people if you're going to come in the morning, if you're going to come in the evening, just let me know, and I can open for you at any time. Fortunately, I've gotten a lot of return people with groups and tours, and the kindness of strangers and the word of mouth,
Yeah. Well, there's a reason why they say nice things about your place.
Oh, thank you.
Nice things about you, too.
Thank you so much. How very nice to hear that.
I'm going to have all the links to Maria's website. And
No website.
No website?
It's Facebook.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Facebook. I'm going to have links to Maria's Facebook page.
Thank you.
And make sure that when you come to El Tuito, that you visit her and check out this beautiful gallery with all this great local art. She's here to support these local artists, and so maybe you can do the same. And I just want to thank you again just for allowing me to come and talk with you. It's been so nice.
It's been an absolute pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much for doing this for us.
All right. Now, in the next episode, you're going to hear some of those fireworks and some of those celebrations that she was talking about. I actually got a chance to record some of that. So, as we wrapped up the interview, Javier, the taxi driver, came driving up right on cue, and I bade farewell to my new friend Maria. And then Javier and I went off in search of some lunch because I was getting really hungry. And I knew I had to eat before we started making that trip to Mayto. But before we get into that story, we're going to have to call it quits for this episode. I'm going to have to say we're going to finish up the day trip next week because I'm going to share with you guys the taxi driver, Javier. I mean, I got so lucky to have had the opportunity to talk with Javier all about this area. He knew so much about it. And you guys are going to be so lucky next week to hear Javier, the taxi driver. And then we're going to also wrap up. We're going to talk a little bit more about El Tuito. I'm going to give you an overview. And then we're going to talk about, of course, that road to Mayto and Tehuamixtle and back. Those celebrations in El Tuito. We're going to talk about that. And then a bus ride back to Puerto Vallarta from El Tuito. So all of that will be coming next week with taxi driver Javier. So for now, though, that should do it for this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. But before I say goodbye, I just want to say thank you to Dasan Pilalai. He's my friend who sent me some really, really nice photos of El Tuito for me to use in my blog post along with my own. He does a really great job with the camera, and he was kind enough to help me supplement my photos. Now, he has a Facebook group that he manages. It's called Puerto Vallarta in Images. So if you love Puerto Vallarta, you want to see some beautiful pictures, go check out his group. You might want to join him and throw some of your beautiful pictures there as well. So thanks, Dasan. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the photos. All right, so next week, stay tuned for more on-the-ground reports from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, with travel tips, great restaurant excursion ideas, and more. But until then, remember that this is an interactive show where I depend on your questions and suggestions about all things Puerto Vallarta. If you think of something that I should be talking about, please reach out to me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending us your message. And remember, if you're considering booking any type of tour while you're in Puerto Vallarta, you must go to vallartainfo.com, that's JR's website, and reserve your tour right from him, right from his website. And remember, this is a value-for-value proposition, my friends. His experience and on-the-ground knowledge of everything Puerto Vallarta in exchange for your making a purchase of a tour that you do anyway. You're just doing it through him as a way of saying thank you. Thanks, JR, for being our guide. It costs no more than if you were going to be using someone else to do it. So really, just do it. And when you do take one of those tours, please email me about your experiences. Maybe you can come on board and share with others what you liked or didn't like about the tour. Again, contact me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending off a message. And once again, if you like this podcast, please take the time and subscribe and give me a good review on iTunes if you would. That way we can get the word out to more and more people about the magic of this place, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And remember, I made it easy for you to do just that with every episode I create. But look, if you haven't been to my website, you really have to go and have a look there. I have links to all the places that we talk about. I have interesting pictures and more right there in the blog posts and in the show notes for each and every episode of the show that I create. So check them out if you haven't. All right? Okay. All right, so thanks again to Matty and Jesse at La Joya de Tuito Bed and Breakfast, and of course to Maria Santander of Galeria Coppelia in El Tuito. Check out their pictures, check out the links, and all their contact information. They're all in the show notes right here in this episode. And thanks to all of you for listening all the way through this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. This is Barry Kessler signing off with a wish for all of you to slow down, be kind, and live the Vallarta lifestyle. Nos vemos, amigos.
De Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar, samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de amor junto al mar. Solo camino eterno por la playa, me encuentro junto al río cuando todo está en calma. Pronto cae la noche, brillas Puerto Vallarta.